Hi, and thank you for joining us for today's discussion. My name is Rob Carloni, and I lead the finance transformation practices at Bakerfield Solutions. I'm an ex-IBMer, and I've spent my career in FP&A prior to joining Bakerfield, and now I work with companies to help them leverage technology to transform their financial processes. I've done over 500 projects at this point and been fortunate enough to consult with financial leaders across companies of all shapes and sizes. And while our focus has been primarily on optimization through technology, it's clear that businesses have hidden growth drivers still waiting to be unlocked. So we're going to talk more about this in a second, but first, let me introduce my good friend, Bill Bailey, founder of BaileyAdvisors, LLC. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Rob, I spent more than 30 years working for IBM. Over that time, I advanced to international and global CFO roles, living both abroad and in the US and managing regional, geographic, and global organizations. But I also had the opportunity to lead very large organizations performing order to cash, IT application management, and other core business processes. And what I learned from those experiences is that there's a combination of perspectives that is super powerful and very hard to find. It's about combining that financial perspective with a deep understanding of the core activities performed in these various IT or operations functions. So in 2020, we founded BaileyAdvisors LLC. We perform transformation consulting services for our clients. And what we do is we help those companies identify opportunities to dramatically improve the efficiency and effectiveness of their operations. This enables them to shift resources to growth or to take some savings to their bottom line.
So, Bill, when should companies start working on optimizing the business processes?
Well, it's a great question, Rob, and I think you're getting at an important point. Often I get contacted by companies when they have a business unit that's struggling and they're sort of scrambling to turn things around, or when they realize that a particular function or P&L line, say SG&A spending, is not in line with the market. And of course, we can help in those situations. But the most successful companies we work with recognize the need to constantly evolve and proactively work to optimize. That's what frees up the resources they need to grow, improve their bottom line, or do a little bit of both.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. So basically, it sounds like you're saying it should be in kind of an iterative and an ongoing process, right? I guess as you're doing that, what roadblocks have you seen preventing companies from achieving success?
Well, I think a lot of this typically depends on where the company is in its life cycle. So, mature companies can have process inefficiencies because they've kind of settled into the same way of doing things for a long time, sometimes too long. Newer companies are typically growing so fast, they're scrambling to build their operational processes to support the business growth. But then they don't have time to step back and rationalize what they've created. It's so easy for them to get caught up in the weeds of just surviving for the next day and not have the time or vantage point or experience with how to look at it holistically and figure out what the art of the possible is. Finally, whether it's a mature firm or a newer, faster growing firm, many of them may not have been exposed yet to the cutting edge techniques and approaches that can make a world of difference in seeing where the inefficiencies are. Examples of this are techniques we use like agile methodologies, value stream mapping, and using AI to identify work simplification capabilities. So the combination of those things allow us to help whether it's a mature company sort of doing things the same way for a long time, or a younger company, fast growing, that's just scrambling to survive day to day. We apply these techniques as well as our experience in finance and operations to help them see the art of the possible.
Yeah, so basically it sounds like really any company could, regardless of where they are, could probably benefit from spending a little bit more time, working on some of these internal processes. Um, if they were to do that, really, what are some benefits that you've seen, right? Can you kind of talk through some of the things that companies have gotten out of putting in this kind of a work effort?
Sure, Rob. I think this gets at what it really means to free up resources. That's the benefit. And if a team can automate low value tasks, they have more time to focus on higher value tasks. If a team has more visibility into its data, then they can track the impacts of their actions and take new actions that are going to help them optimize going forward. So, freeing up resources by using agile techniques, value stream mapping, and AI capabilities like annotation allow companies to then have capabilities freed up either to go for growth or to become more efficient and take it to the bottom line.
That makes a lot of sense. I guess one thing that I hear a lot of, is, that's great, fully appreciate the long-term value there. Are there any kind of short-term or immediate impacts that folks could, gather from going through this?
Absolutely. We typically see both. I've never done a review, and I've done dozens of these, and I've done them all over the world, from sitting in Brazil or India or China or Europe to a location here in the US. We always find some quick hitters. Often it involves activities maybe we're using a third party vendor for that we can automate or do ourselves. And then there also we'll find changes that require some automation or some investment or just some time to work through changes in the process. And those are more significant and they'll need some time to get done. So there are benefits that can go straight to the bottom line quickly, as well as typically benefits from using the freed up resources to drive future growth. Sometimes quickly, sometimes takes a little while to get there, but most reviews we find both.
Yeah, no, I could see how that definitely could be valuable and worth investing in. We've worked together in kind of the Fortune 100 space, going back to our IBM days and so forth. I guess as you've worked with various companies, right, of different shapes and sizes, you know, is the approach for call it a Fortune 100 company the same as, a mid-market company? Or do you find that it's a little bit different? We have to adjust, accordingly.
Well, I think I would say the fundamentals are always the same,
Mhm.
but we have to apply the fundamentals by evaluating our clients' processes. And we may use agile best practices and benchmarks that we have available from all of our past engagements to help see where the opportunities are. We may use value stream mapping to identify the hidden inefficiencies. We may use AI-based automation opportunities that we've applied in other client situations to help a client reimagine their workflows. The only difference is the approach we take to getting there. And the approach really is about not having a one size fits all. We use an approach that's fit for purpose to each organization's capabilities so that we can help them identify and capture the opportunities. So again, in recap, fundamentals are the same, techniques we apply are going to be the same, but how we apply them, how we collaborate with the client to apply them will be customized to the client's capabilities, because what matters at the end of the day is that my clients and our clients jointly together are getting the benefits they need.
So we have a lot of clients that are, obviously looking to grow and really try to break into, the Fortune 5,000, Fortune 1,000 space. Do you think that this is critical in order to get there?
Absolutely, Rob. I think this is critical for any company, big or small, because it really gets at the cultural notion of constant improvement. And I would assert to you that notion is critical to any business's success, big or small.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, you know, my imagination would tell me that the first thing, somebody's gonna say in hearing this though is, how do they do that, right? How do they find the time in the day to actually do that when, obviously so many of us are just maxed out on the normal day-to-day kind of tasks.
I totally get that. And remember, one of the unique things about our firms are we've lived the lives in the trenches of senior finance, accounting, and other types of financial executive and management roles. So we've been in our clients' shoes. And that's the really cool thing about what Bakerfield has done here. Partnering with my firm, leveraging our joint capabilities, We've crafted a very affordable way for companies to get enterprise level insights and assistance at a fraction of the cost they'd pay for the larger firms. But probably equally or more importantly is our methodology is far less disruptive than working with a lot of these more traditional firms who often lack people who have actually been in the trenches and performed and managed the business processes we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, that brings up a good point. I guess one thing that I'm sure folks struggle with is, when does it make sense to look for help, right? And bring in an outside consultant versus, just try to keep on handling things internally and making improvements.
We bring a proven and robust outside perspective, which I think is critically important. Yes, of course, when you're running a business, you're challenging yourself. Are you doing it the most efficient and effective way? But because you're in those trenches every day in and day out, you may not have awareness of some of the techniques or opportunities that other firms have done. We can do that with our clients. So we bring to them quickly, affordably, and with as little disruption as possible that outside perspective. Unlike other consultants, we make very actionable recommendations. We've designed our offering specifically for the mid-market space because we know the companies there don't have the time or patience to manage an army of consultants that may come down on them and pull them away from what they have to do day in and day out. Our experience both managing processes and leading and driving transformation programs allow us to efficiently review, absorb, and analyze any process or financial materials the client provides us. And what does that mean? It means that we can efficiently review the materials they provide us, see where we compare it against benchmarks we have internally, see where the opportunities are. But then another key thing is we culminate our program with a 2-day workshop with the client team so that when we leave that session, they have a set of actions that they're bought into and that they believe can make a difference.
So, as folks kind of hear us talking about this, I'm guessing, kind of the mind goes to the first place of a possible recommendation would be cuts, right? That's usually what people think of when they hear kind of process optimization and so forth. Is that a valid concern or, what do you see? And I'd frame this especially since, I know in order to make any of these successful, you really need to get kind of buy-in from the company. What's your take on that?
Look, this approach is about aligning your resources, tasks, and processes to deliver the optimal setup. That means high-value people performing high-value tasks. In actuality, this approach reduces turnover because people are better aligned with what we're doing and that it's more in the areas they feel comfortable and where they feel they bring value. And they also feel that it's bringing optimal value add for the organization. So while some cuts may be inevitable, we don't focus on this from a cutting perspective. We focus on it that you're freeing up resources, whether that's people, money, or time, to add more value to your business.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great lens to look through this whole endeavor, right? I mean, it's really how do you kind of align your business to bring that value rather than just, kind of drastically cutting things, right? That's really the whole point of this. We're all finance professionals here, and I'll open up for Q&A here in a second, but I'm just curious your take, as a finance leader, what is really our role in this, right? This is something that touches kind of all areas of the business. What are we supposed to do as finance leaders, and what is really our goal here?
So as you comment, you're talking to an ex-CFO of almost a $20 billion part of the IBM company. So of course, I think finance can be a driver for increased profit. How? By helping build a culture of constant improvement, by bringing ideas to the table that are actionable because they're grounded in solid analytics to help the company see where it can improve. Additionally, finance can help drive discipline in decision making because they bring a single source of truth to the table.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill. That is a lot of really good insight, I think, into some of your experience in helping companies really transform themselves and really get ahead of the curve. At this point, why don't we go ahead and open it up for some questions?